Hello, boxing fans around the world. Thank you once again for joining us on Talkin Fight for another episode featuring Christian from the Friday night panel and his ongoing exploration of the Olympics, in particular boxing at the Olympics coming up in Tokyo this July. What have you found out today, Christian?
Well, Graham, we're going to talk about a couple of boxers that we're going to definitely be seeing at these Tokyo Olympics, and probably won't be very long before we'll see Mikey talking about them, Big Mike talking about them, and Knuckle Up, because they're probably going to be going pro very shortly after this, as are a number of people. We always see a new class of pro fighters right after an Olympic Games. That's a good time. You know, your exposure's high. It's a good time to do it. But before we get onto that, I want to talk a little bit about the last Olympic Games in Rio. Now, as you know, this has been kind of hotly contested for some time now. And we've gotten to a point now where the AIBA has actually launched a formal investigation into possible corruption and match rigging at the Olympic boxing competition at Rio de Janeiro in 2016. Now, that's going to be headed up by Professor Richard McLaren. Now, if that name sounds familiar to you, it's because that's the guy who uncovered the full extent of the Russian state-sponsored doping scandal a few years ago. McLaren was the one who found out that more than 1,000 Russian athletes in 30 different disciplines had been part of a sophisticated doping program. And he's now been tasked with investigating potential judging and refereeing irregularities in Rio by the AIBA. Now, as part of his mandate, McLaren and his team of forensic investigators from Herod Associates will also be examining the activity of individuals involved in the management and administration of AIBA to determine if there had been any acts of corruption on that end of things. Of this, McLaren says, boxing has long had a history of questionable activities. There have been multiple past investigations in the sport that have either not been completed or simply not acted upon. It's time for boxing to turn a page, but it cannot do so without the full accounting of the alleged misconduct. Our team will conduct an independent investigation into the questions surrounding corruption or manipulation of sporting results during the Rio de Janeiro Olympic Games in 2016, identify persons responsible, and recommend appropriate courses of action where necessary. So one of the first things they're going to be doing, Graham, is they're setting up a whistleblower line. And the first part of McLaren's report into what, first part of what he's found is going to be due in August. So a little bit after the games, we'll be following up with this one, and we'll let you know what at least his initial findings are. But he went on to say, I wish to thank the AIBA for their confidence and trust in giving us the freedom to support and conduct a thorough and comprehensive independent investigation. Adding, they are looking to put some finality to the allegations that have plagued boxing for decades. My team has been given the independence to follow any and all leads to uncover the truth. Now, there were widespread concerns both before and during the Rio Games with high-ranking officials, again, on the condition of anonymity, telling reporters at the time that before the Olympics began themselves, that many bouts, including those to decide medals, could be fixed, and fears about corruption and financial malpractice were kind of rife at AIBA at the time. One senior amateur boxing official, anonymously again, said that there was no doubt in his mind that some judges and referees in Rio will be corrupt. Again, this was before the games even started. He alleged that a group of referees will get together before major championships to decide how to score certain bouts. Now, at the time, of course, AIBA robustly defended itself, attributing all allegations as subjective judgments from discontented parties and referring to them as rumors without any tangible proof whatsoever, naturally. Now, during Rio 2016, a great example of this would have been the Irish bantamweight Michael Conlan. Now, he was one of the first athletes to allege corruption after losing a controversial decision to Russian Vladimir Nikitin, saying, I came for gold and I have been cheated. I will not do another Olympics, and I wouldn't advise anybody. I would advise anybody else not to compete for the AIBA. Now, at the end of the first round, he went on to say, at the end of the first round, it had been so easy, so comfortable, I wasn't even out of breath. And I said to my corner, I'm going to win this easy. That's when I was told that I was down. I had been robbed of my Olympic dream. Now, AIBA's then president, Dr. Ching-Ku Wu, indicated that the governing body would subject Conlan to disciplinary action, but the fighter turned professional, which basically cut that off at the knees. Wu, though, did also vehemently deny all allegations of corruption against the AIBA, at the time. An initial in-house AIBA investigation back in 2017 found, no active interference in the results in Rio, but it did at the same time permanently remove all of its so-called five-star judges from international competition and admitted that I love the wording here, a concentration of decision-making power and an unwelcome access of influence had affected judging at the games. Now, it is understood that this investigation by McLaren is just part of, the larger range of measures that are being implemented by AIBA President Umar Kremlev in an attempt to return the international sport, in an attempt to return to the international sports fold after the Olympic boxing qualifying tournaments for Tokyo were taken off the hands by the IOC. Again, we'll bring you more in August once McLaren's had a chance to get started, and we'll see the first part of that report just shortly after the games themselves. But I'm sure you guys, like me, like everyone else, is going to be really interested to see what they find and see what further steps Kremlev is able to take to try to reinstate AIBA as the administrative body for the Olympic tournament. Because as we've seen already, they are having a little bit more success with larger international tournaments, even during this pandemic, than the ad hoc boxing task force that's been put together for these Olympics. But we wish Dr. McLaren the best of luck on that, and let's move forward and talk about a couple of fighters. I want to introduce you to a couple of names you've heard me poorly pronounce at least one of them several times now, and but someone you'll definitely be seeing at these Olympics and moving forward is going to be Muslim Gadzhimagomedov. Now, he's a heavyweight fighting out of Russia, or I guess in this case, we would be fighting for the Russian Olympic Committee in this particular case. Now, Gadzhimagomedov is a 6'4" powerhouse, and he's looking to add Olympic gold to his CV after claiming a top spot on the podium at both the European and the World Championships in 2019. Now, he enters Tokyo as the man to beat, having coasted past Ecuador's Julio Castillo 5-0 in the gold medal bout at the World Championships. Now, the heavyweight was, even at the time, sent a message of congratulations from Vladimir Putin himself for the triumph, which read, "You have achieved your cherished dream by triumphing at the World Championships. I am confident that your leadership stance, persistence, and a truly sportsmanlike disposition will help you in the future to achieve your objectives and worthily represent our country at the most prestigious international sporting events." It's not often on this side of the pond that we hear Putin say anything nice, so that's a little different. A bit of a change of tone from what we're used to hearing. But keep an eye out for Muslim Gadzhimagomedov. You're going to be hearing his name a lot at this tournament. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if you heard about him going pro shortly thereafter. Next up on the list, though, we've got Andy Cruz, nice and easy to pronounce, who's a light welterweight, who fights out of Cuba. Now, you guys know this. Cuba has been a shining light of Olympic boxing for decades now. Names like Teofilo Stevenson and Felix Savant. But realistically, for this particular Olympics, Cruz is really Cuba's only real hope for a gold medal. World champion in 2017 as well as 2019, and was also winner of the Pan Am Games in 2015 here in Toronto and in 2019. And he's entering Tokyo as a favorite. Now, Cruz is he's quick. He's really fast, and traditionally he is a counter puncher. So he's really quick thinking on his feet and really fast. And usually, if you come at him too quick, it's to your own detriment, with a lot of really good head movement. And he also understands the expectations that are on his shoulders back home, and was recently told reporters, "I can't deny that being a pre-competition favorite puts a little pressure on me. But I've been dealing with that calmly for months now. When I was a kid, I dreamed of becoming an Olympic champion, and now I'm one step away from it." So that's next week, or not next week, but moving on in the week, we're actually going to be profiling, again, a few more fighters that I think we're going to be hearing a lot about in the Olympics to come, as well as, these names are looking at, we think will be the class moving pro in 2021 into 2022. But that's what I've got for you today, Graham, from around the rings.
That's awesome. Much more than I thought, and certainly much more than I could find. So great to hear. And I'm kind of surprised because when you took yesterday off to do your course, I tried my best to follow in your footsteps, and unfortunately, I had some difficulties broadcasting from the road. So it's good to hear that you were able to deliver a full report today for the viewership out there. Thanks again, Christian, and we'll see you tomorrow.